What happens when a duchess with a Hollywood pedigree meets Britain's most unforgiving journalist? No one expected fireworks, but when Meghan Markle walked into Kevin O'Sullivan's studio, she thought she was steering the conversation. She left in fury. It was supposed to be a polite sit-down. Instead, it became a televised knife fight. The studio lights glowed soft and warm, deceptively calm. Behind his desk, Kevin O'Sullivan adjusted his tie, his expression unreadable. The audience murmured with quiet anticipation. This wasn't just any guest, it was Meghan Markle. Actress, duchess, global controversy personified. The side door opened. Meghan stepped out, immaculate as ever. Poised smile, flawless makeup, every movement rehearsed to perfection. She looked like she was walking onto a Vogue set, not into an interrogation. Kevin stood. "Meghan, welcome, thank you for being here." She nodded, ignoring his hand. "Thanks for having me." As she sat, she crossed her legs, straightened her lapel, and gave a look that said she'd done this 1,000 times. The cameras rolled. Kevin's tone was smooth, almost disarming, but anyone who knew him could hear the edge beneath. "So," he began, "from palace walls to podcast studios, from red carpets to royal walkouts, how's life treating you lately?" Meghan smiled coolly. "Busy but fulfilling. I've finally had the chance to use my voice the way I've always wanted." Kevin leaned forward. "Interesting choice of words. Use your voice. Some would say you've used it to torch everything and everyone in your past." Her smile faltered for half a beat before sharpening again. "I tell my story. If that makes people uncomfortable, maybe they should ask themselves why." A murmur rippled through the audience. Kevin's eyebrow arched. "Let's rewind. You began as an actress. Suits, of course. Then came the royal family. Now, what would you say your career is?" "I don't need a label," she said smoothly. "I'm a mother, a producer, an advocate, and someone who actually does things instead of sitting on the sidelines criticizing others." Kevin's smile was thin. "Is that how you see critics? Sideline noise?" She looked directly into the camera. "That's exactly what they are." "Fascinating." He turned a page in his notes. "Do you ever miss acting, or did you leave that behind the moment a crown was in sight?" The air shifted. Meghan's tone cooled. "Excuse me? I asked if your ambitions changed once you joined the royal family," Kevin repeated evenly. "Or was that the plan all along?" Her nostrils flared. "It's offensive to assume a woman can't fall in love without it being some kind of strategy." Kevin shrugged. "Then explain why everything you've done since leaving the family involves monetizing your relationship with them." The audience stiffened. Meghan gave a short, mocking laugh. "That's such a tired narrative. You know nothing about my life. You sit there judging as if you've lived it." Kevin steepled his fingers. "No, but you've made sure we all know your version of it. So tell me, if the royal family was so toxic, why keep the title? Why still sign emails as the Duchess of Sussex?" Her jaw tightened. "Because it's legally mine, whether you like it or not." He leaned back, tone casual but blade sharp. "So you despise the institution but keep the perks. That sounds less like principle, more like marketing." Meghan uncrossed and recrossed her legs, irritation flashing. "Maybe if you spent less time obsessing over titles and more time listening to women, we'd be having a different conversation." "Oh, I'm listening," Kevin said. "I just don't confuse branding with bravery." The room froze. The tension was electric. Even the crew stopped moving. Meghan's polished exterior had started to crack. Barely, but unmistakably. Kevin flipped another page. "Let's talk about the Queen. You left while she was still alive. Do you regret not being there during her final years?" Meghan's voice was tight. "I have nothing but respect for Her Majesty." Kevin raised an eyebrow. "Funny way of showing it. Ditching the country, accusing the family, running to Oprah." "That's not what happened," she snapped. "Isn't it?" he pressed. "Because from the outside, it looks like you lit the match, watched the monarchy burn, and then complained about the heat." The audience gasped. Meghan leaned forward now, her voice low, cold, and precise. "I came on this show expecting professionalism. Clearly I gave you too much credit." Kevin didn't blink. "And I expected answers." "Clearly I gave you too much credit." For a long moment, neither spoke. The air between them seemed to hum. Two worlds locked in silent combat. Then Kevin exhaled slowly, straightening in his chair. "Let's talk about your relationship with royal staff," he said evenly. "Dozens of aides reportedly quit during your time at the palace. Some claimed they felt bullied. Any comment?" Meghan's expression hardened. "You mean palace spin? The smear campaign that started the minute I began asking questions?" Kevin's voice turned to ice. "So everyone else is lying, and only Meghan Markle is right. Is that it?" She smiled, but her eyes were sharp as glass. "If that helps you sleep at night, then believe it." Kevin leaned forward. "No, Meghan, I'm not here to feel better. I'm here for the truth. And the truth is, your story collapses the moment someone pushes back." The studio fell deathly silent. Meghan turned to the audience, her smile now all teeth. "I don't owe this man, or anyone here, an explanation for how I protect my family." Kevin rose suddenly. His tone had shed all pretense of charm. "If you're not here to answer questions, and if you think everyone's beneath you, perhaps you'd be more comfortable off this set." Gasps rippled through the crowd. "Excuse me?" Meghan snapped. He gestured toward the exit. "Please. This is a show for dialogue, not diva tantrums." Her chair scraped back sharply. She stood trembling with anger. "This isn't journalism. It's provocation dressed as journalism. And it's pathetic." Kevin didn't move. "Then by all means leave." Her glare could have cut steel. Meghan Markle turned on her heel and stormed toward the exit, heels striking the studio floor like gunfire. Kevin turned back to the frozen audience. "Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. We'll return to regular programming." The screen faded to black. But the internet? It was just getting started. The lights still shimmered over Kevin's desk as he calmly flipped through his notes, unbothered. The air in the room was thick with leftover electricity. The audience sat motionless. No one dared speak, applaud, or even breathe. Then the door swung open. Meghan Markle walked back in. She didn't storm. She marched, each step deliberate, her chin high, her expression stripped of diplomacy. The smile was gone. The pretense was gone. She was back for blood. The audience held its breath. Kevin didn't rise. He only looked up, pen still twirling lazily between his fingers. "Well," he said flatly. "Couldn't stay away?" Meghan didn't sit right away. "I left because you were being disrespectful. I came back to finish what I started, and make sure everyone sees through your little performance." Kevin tilted his head, amused. "Performance? My dear, you arrived here rehearsed like you were presenting an award." She sat abruptly, folding her arms. "Better to be prepared than bitter." He chuckled once, low and humorless. "Then let's continue, shall we?" No smiles now. Only fire. Kevin leaned forward. "You say you left the royal family for your mental health, but you knew what you were marrying into. The cameras, the scrutiny, the duty. Are you saying you had no idea?" Meghan's response was razor-sharp. "What I didn't know was the cruelty, the racism, the gaslighting. You think I expected to be destroyed from the inside?" Kevin didn't blink. "And yet you stayed long enough for a royal wedding, 2 royal tours, and a global brand. Sounds less like an escape, more like a launch pad." Her laugh was dry, cutting. "Is that what you tell women leaving abusive situations? That they got something out of it?" A murmur rippled through the crowd. Kevin's voice dropped, colder still. "No. I'm asking if you've ever stopped to consider that maybe, just maybe, the problem isn't always everyone else." Meghan leaned back, rolling her eyes. "Right. Blame the woman." "How original," Kevin pressed on. "You accused the firm of smears, of ignoring your cries for help. You painted your in-laws as villains to a global audience. And now you sit here demanding respect." "I don't demand respect," Meghan snapped. "I deserve it." Meghan's voice was steady now, low but slicing. "And if people have a problem with me telling my truth, that's their problem." Kevin's brow arched. "Your truth, not the truth." Her lips curled into a smirk. "You really think you're clever?" He smiled, thin and sharp. "You think you're untouchable?" Meghan leaned in, her tone venomous. "You're just angry because a woman like me, who came from outside your little aristocratic fantasy, dared to speak. Kevin didn't flinch. His reply landed like a blade. Actually, I'm angry because someone with your platform and privilege still insists on playing the victim in every interview. A few gasps echoed through the audience. Meghan's eyes hardened. You want to talk about privilege? Try being a biracial woman walking into Buckingham Palace and being treated like she didn't belong. Kevin nodded once, almost inviting it. Let's go there then. You've hinted at racism, blamed the institution, but never named names, never shown proof. Convenient, isn't it? Her fingers tightened around the armrest. I'm not here to destroy individuals. I'm here to expose a system. He leaned forward. A system you married into, profited from, benefited from, until it stopped serving you. Her voice dropped, low and dangerous. I didn't marry for benefit. I married for love. Kevin's tone was merciless. And when love wasn't enough, you sold the pain. A stunned silence filled the room. For once, Meghan didn't speak. Kevin pressed on. You think you're being brave? Smearing your husband's family, turning personal pain into profit, and then coming here demanding grace? Meghan's eyes flashed. I'm not asking the world for anything, except book sales, podcast listeners, sympathy, and let's not forget the Netflix millions, he said dryly. She laughed, cold, mocking. Oh, please. You don't care about ethics. You care about ratings. You provoke, you insult. And when someone pushes back, you play the victim. Kevin didn't blink. Funny. That's exactly what people say about you. Meghan stood, but she didn't walk away this time. She hovered, trembling with fury. You've been condescending since I sat down. You twist my words, drag up rumors, distort facts, and somehow I'm the problem? Kevin looked up at her, utterly calm. Yes, the word hit like a gunshot. She blinked, taken aback. You are, he continued evenly, not because you speak your truth, but because you've turned it into a weapon. And then cry foul when anyone fights back. Meghan stepped closer to the desk, voice trembling with rage. You think you're bold? You think you're a truth-teller? You're just a sad little man, angry that a woman like me walked away from your outdated world. Kevin rose, his expression unmoving. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. I think, he said quietly, you want freedom without consequence, admiration without question. But that's not how it works. Not here. Not anymore. The silence that followed was suffocating. Meghan's eyes shimmered, not with tears but pure fury. She turned sharply away, jaw tight, biting back words that burned to escape. Kevin's voice followed her like a blade through fog. If you can't handle hard questions, Meghan, maybe stop signing up for interviews. She paused, half turned back, her glare cutting. This isn't journalism, she hissed. It's arrogance. And with that, she stormed off the set. Again. Kevin didn't move. He simply exhaled once, sat back down, and faced the camera. She wanted the spotlight, he said evenly, and now she's angry. It's not flattering. The screen faded to black, but this story wasn't over. Twice she'd walked out. Twice she'd come back. But the third time, there would be no walking away. 10 minutes later, the studio lights dimmed. The audience murmured, unsure if it was finished or just catching its breath. Behind the desk, Kevin O'Sullivan sat perfectly still, flipping through his notes as if nothing had happened, as if the world hadn't just witnessed a televised implosion. Then the studio door slammed open. Meghan Markle strode back in, not calm, not composed, not playing nice. Her blazer was unbuttoned, her expression fierce. This time, she wasn't here to defend herself. She was here to fight. Her hair was slightly tousled, and her eyes burned with cold fury. She strode straight toward the desk but didn't sit. Kevin didn't look surprised. If anything, there was a flicker of amusement in his eyes. Third time's the charm, he said smoothly. Meghan didn't smile. No, this time I finish what I came here to say. Kevin leaned back, gesturing calmly. By all means, finish. She leaned forward, both palms pressed flat against the desk. You think that desk gives you power? That you can interrupt, twist, bait, and manipulate me, and I'll just sit here smiling? Kevin folded his hands. His tone remained measured. "You agreed to this interview, Meghan? You knew exactly what kind of show you were walking into." "I didn't agree to be attacked, slandered, or disrespected," she shot back. "Disrespected?" He raised an eyebrow. "You've been dismissive, evasive, and condescending since the moment you sat down. Respect is earned, not demanded." Meghan's lips curled. "I don't need to earn anything from you." "Clearly," Kevin said dryly, "you'd rather bulldoze through questions than answer them." A ripple of tension swept through the audience. Meghan's jaw tightened. "You've pried into my past, my family, my marriage. What's next, Kevin? My private emails? My therapy notes? What will ever be enough for you?" "Enough," he said evenly, "would be honesty. Not the polished version of your life. The real one." Meghan let out a sharp laugh. "So if my truth doesn't fit your narrative, it's not real?" "I think," Kevin said slowly, "you've built your own narrative so tightly that any challenge feels like an attack." She moved closer, standing over him now. "You humiliate me on live television. For what? So you can feel powerful?" Kevin met her glare without blinking. "You humiliated yourself the moment you decided every question was beneath you." "You don't get to question my integrity," she snapped. "I just did." The silence that followed was suffocating. Meghan turned to the audience, her voice rising. "This is what happens when a woman speaks up, when she refuses to be controlled. The media tries to tear her apart." Kevin's calm voice cut through the air. "This isn't about strength, Meghan. It's about accountability. Something you run from every time someone challenges your perfect victim story." She spun back toward him. "You call that journalism? What you do is cruelty dressed in a suit and smirk." "And what you do," Kevin replied coldly, "is self-promotion dressed as trauma." Gasps rippled through the audience. Meghan trembled. Whether from rage or exhaustion, no one could tell. Kevin didn't stop. "What now? Will you sue me? Call your lawyers? Record another tearful podcast about being bullied by the big, bad press?" Her voice dropped to a trembling whisper. "You think this is funny?" "I think," Kevin said flatly, "it's predictable." She slammed her palm onto the desk. The crack echoed across the studio. "You're a disgrace to journalism. And you," Kevin replied, eyes like ice, "are a masterclass in self-pity." Her breath came fast, her face flushed. "You don't know what it's like," she hissed, "to be hunted, vilified, lied about, just for existing." Kevin stood, finally meeting her eye to eye. "No, I don't. But I know what it's like to be challenged, and not walk out every time it gets uncomfortable." She leaned closer, voice trembling with venom. "You'll regret this," he smiled thinly. "Already did. The moment you walked in. That was it." Meghan tore the backup mic from her collar, the wire whipping across the desk. She dropped it with a hard slap. "Enjoy your ratings, Kevin," she spat. "You'll need them to feel relevant." "At least I don't need a royal sob story to stay that way," he shot back. The audience gasped again. Meghan turned to them, voice cutting through the silence. "You're all complicit in this circus, feeding the same machine that destroys people and calls it entertainment." Kevin leaned forward. "And you've fed it just as eagerly. Oprah, Netflix, Spotify. Don't play saint now." Her glare could have burned through steel. She turned, stormed across the stage, and vanished through the door. This time, for good. The silence that followed was total. Kevin adjusted his cuffs, took a measured breath, and looked straight into the camera. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, voice steady as glass, "you just watched the interview she demanded, and the truth she couldn't handle. Meghan Markle, proof that you can leave the palace, but not the entitlement." The screen faded to black once more. But it wasn't over. The studio sat in complete silence. Kevin O'Sullivan remained behind his desk, arms crossed, expression unreadable. The crew had stopped moving. The audience stayed frozen, as if afraid that standing might shatter the fragile stillness left in the room. 3 walkouts, 3 returns, and 1 storm that hadn't quite passed. Then, faintly off camera, a voice. Meghan. Her tone wasn't raised. It was cold, precise, laced with fury. "Tell him," she said to someone off-screen, probably a producer, that I came on his show in good faith. Tell him he won't bully me into silence. And tell him he just proved every reason I left that island behind." A murmur from the producer, and then her voice again, closer this time, sharper. "And tell the world," she added, "that Kevin O'Sullivan is exactly what's wrong with modern media. A man so obsessed with controlling women's voices that he doesn't even hear how small his own sounds." The words slipped through the walls, reaching Kevin like smoke. His jaw tightened, but his face stayed composed. He waited. The audience waited. Then slowly he stood. From behind the camera, a producer called out, "Any final response to her remarks?" Kevin looked directly into the lens, a faint smirk curving his lips. His voice was calm, deliberate. "Oh, I've got one." He paused for a single breath. "If challenging contradictions makes me the villain, so be it. But Meghan Markle doesn't fear bullies. She fears mirrors." A stunned gasp rippled through the crowd. But Kevin wasn't done. "She came here expecting applause," he continued. "She got questions. She left in anger. That's not journalism's failure. That's entitlement's tantrum." No one clapped at first. It was too raw, too heavy. Then hesitantly a few hands met. A single clap, then another, until the studio filled with the uneasy sound of applause. Not celebration, but release. Kevin sat back down, straightened his notes, and exhaled. His expression hovered somewhere between weary and satisfied. "This," he said finally, "was supposed to be a conversation. It became a confrontation. But maybe, just maybe, it brought a little clarity." He glanced toward the edge of the stage, where Meghan had vanished moments ago. "To those watching at home," he said quietly, "we'll let you decide what just happened. But one thing is certain." He raised a single finger. "This wasn't an interview. It was a reckoning." The screen faded to black, slowly this time. But just before the broadcast ended completely, one final sound bled through from backstage. Meghan's voice, low, clipped, trembling with quiet rage. "He'll regret this. One day he'll regret this." Fade out. "What did you think of this explosive four-part showdown between Meghan Markle and Kevin O'Sullivan? Was Kevin too harsh, or was Meghan simply unprepared for real questions? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more raw, unfiltered celebrity confrontations. Because sometimes, when truth and ego collide, the sparks tell their own story.